welcome to This Week in Agriculture, a presentation of the Communications Unit, Ministry of Agriculture. On this week's presentation, we'll bring you highlights of Minister Mustafa's engagements beginning Sunday last with the flood relief distribution exercise in West Berbice. He was at two locations, and we will bring you highlights of that. He had several other engagements during the week, ending Friday and Saturday in Region 2 as the rollout of the flood relief continued in that region. Minister Mustafa was also part of the cabinet outreach to that region. Of course, all cabinet ministers traveling to the Cinderella County to engage with residents and farmers of all of the communities in that region. We will bring you highlights of some of what has been happening there. This Week in Agriculture is produced for television by Matrix Video Productions and Advertising based in East Berbice. I'm your producer and host, Christopher Holder. We will be back after these messages. Over the last 10 years, seed treatment has been proven to be very effective in protecting rice plants from damage by early season pests such as water weevils, leaf miners, and caterpillars. This protection can last for up to 30 days. In so doing, it allows for better establishment of the rice plants and later no bare spots in the field. Seed treatment also negates the need for using harmful pesticides during the first 30 days of the crop and therefore allows the buildup of beneficial insects such as the ladybird beetle, damselflies, dragonflies, and spiders, which will later prove useful against paddy bugs at every stage of their life cycle. Seed treatment involves the application of fipronil at 20% soluble concentrate in a spray can to germinated seed. The mix is 1 liter of fipronil to 2.5 gallons of water to treat 10 120-pound bags of paddy. This can be done manually as seen here. The seed is spread on a level surface and the chemical applied using a spray can. It is then turned and sprayed a few times until the farmer is satisfied that he has achieved complete wetting of his seed paddy. Treated seed paddy is then covered and allowed to be incubated or pressed for the normal 36 to 48 hours. Then it is ready for sowing. It should be noted that in treating the seed, farmers applying the pesticide should wear the appropriate protective gear as seen here to protect against the harmful effects of the chemical on the skin or if inhaled.
From 2010, since I started my seed treatment, that's when I started and I've continued. I've never stopped because I've seen the benefit of seed treatment. And I've seen increased yield, I've seen production better because it actually gives you 35 to 40 days that you don't have to go back into the field and do any kind of a pesticide control because that actually helps you. So farmers, I'm advising you and I'm giving you that advice because I've been doing this since 2010 and I'd like to see farmers benefit also from these 6 points.
Seed treatment is a critical step in the realization of higher yield. If you have not yet adopted this practice, try it this crop. A message from the GRDB, Ministry of Agriculture. African swine fever is a highly contagious disease of domestic and wild pigs that is characterized by high fever, bleeding, and death within 2 to 10 days. African swine fever has been recorded in some countries of Africa, Asia, and Europe, and recently in the Dominican Republic in the Americas. Guyana is free of this devastating disease, but there is a risk for the disease introduction due to global movement of people, animals, and animal products. African swine fever is spread when pigs come into contact with contaminated pork products, feed, syringes, and infected materials, such as pigs and ticks. Pork products can carry the virus, even if they have been cooked or frozen. Humans can carry the virus on their clothing and footwear and may infect pigs that they come into contact with. Before traveling, know the disease status of the country you are visiting. Do not visit pig farms while in African swine fever affected countries. Travelers from affected countries are advised not to bring back food, pork, and pork products. Remember to properly clean, wash, and disinfect your clothing and footwear prior to returning or visiting Guyana. If you are arriving from an ASF infected country, kindly report same to the quarantine officer on arrival and do not go near pig farms for 7 days. For further information, contact the Guyana Livestock Development Authority on telephone number 220-6556 or 7. fax 220-6557, or email glda1910@gmail.com. Government has committed to assisting coconut farmers across the country in their efforts at expanding their cultivations. This help will come through the clearing of vegetation and digging of internal drainage and irrigation channels. Farmers can also expect help in the form of technical support through NARI and the Hope Estate. Further, coconut seedling nurseries have been established in various regions as part of a decentralization program for nurseries. Coconut seedlings are now available. These are the 5, 3, and 18-month varieties. Farmers are reminded that the recommended number of trees per acre is 50. Persons interested in purchasing seedlings may make contact with Hope Estate on telephone number 663-2709. Once the booking is made, seedlings can be picked up from a nursery nearest you. A message from the management of Hope Estate, Ministry of Agriculture. Minister Mustafa's week of engagements began on Sunday last on the west coast of Berbice as he spearheaded flood relief distribution at Bath and Woodley Park primary schools. The minister was one of 3 ministers who engaged in the flood relief distribution drive in Region 5, though the other 2 ministers being Ministers Nigel Darmlal and Vikram Barrett. At both primary schools, the Agriculture Minister assured that all who suffered losses would receive some form of help from government, even if their names were not on the list of persons receiving checks that day.
So there's a lot of investment that we are making in these areas, and I want you to make full use of it. Today's exercise is an exercise that as long as you were called last night or called yesterday, then you will be given a relief check. Those persons whose names are not on the list, kindly go to the query desk, put your name down, and we will verify. But I want everyone to rest assured that whoever have lost in the flood will be given relief.
A total of 5,000 farmers in Region 5 have received flood relief checks so far. Later in the week, the Agriculture Minister disclosed that he has launched an internal investigation into claims from several quarters that persons who have received flood relief checks have done so fraudulently, as they made claims knowing same to be false.
Saturday we will be going to Region 2 to continue the rolling out of the flood relief grant. To date, we started in Region 6, we went to Region 10, we went to Region 5, and we're going to Region 2 on Saturday. Some of the regions will have to go back because there were a number of queries, and then some checks also were the names were misspelled, the particulars were wrong. So those checks are now back with the Ministry of Finance to correct it. And those persons, some of those persons who was not captured in the first instance, they have been captured, verified, and those names are now will be going to the Ministry of Finance for the checks to be prepared. I want to make it clear that there are a number of persons who are making allegations that some people on the list should not receive checks or receive payments. As Minister of Agriculture, I welcome those information and I will need the evidence so that we can deal with it, if there are any. Because many times people are saying that someone is not entitled, but when we ask them correct name, they don't have the evidence. So there were some allegations on the social media yesterday. I sent out the entire leadership of NARI to investigate it in Bath. And when they went there, they didn't get the evidence that those issues that were raised on the Facebook posts or the social media. So I will ask that, yes, we must have proper accountability, we must have transparency. I know for a fact that there are allegations, but let us get the evidence and I will deal with it. If anyone names are on the list that should not be on the list, then as Minister, I'm willing to entertain the discussion and have those names removed as long as we can prove that those persons are not entitled for any flood relief. Remember, this is a relief that the government is giving to those persons who would have suffered losses in the rice sector, the cash crop sector, the livestock sector, and those who household are persons who would have suffered losses for like household appliances and other things. So we have had all the categories, and I want to make it say that for the rice sector, those persons who did not reap their crop, the last crop, the autumn crop, they will be receiving $80,000 per acre. Those persons who would have sown and the crop did not germinate or the seed did not germinate, they will be receiving $65,000. And those persons who would have prepared the land but were unable to sow or do any other thing further, they will be receiving $45,000. For cash crop, those commercial farm, those persons doing cash crop for a living, they will be receiving $100,000. Kitchen garden and household appliances, those persons who suffer losses there will be receiving $50,000. And then in livestock sector, you have 4 categories that they awarded to: the subsistence farmers, small farmers, medium-sized farmers, and the large-scale farmers. And they have a formula where they work out based on the number of birds or small ruminants or cattle that were lost. So these are the formula that was used, because people are going about and looking at people's losses and say that this thing worth millions of dollars. So in the rice sector, no payment will pass or exceed $10 million. So a man can last 2,000 acres of rice, but he will not receive more than $10 million. Same thing with livestock. The maximum payment is $10 million. And persons only will be receiving relief from one sector. For example, if you have a cash crop farmer, rice farmer, and livestock farmer, or one person doing all three, are involved in all 3 sectors, then that person will receive only for one sector the highest amount. So if the rice amount to the highest, they will receive for the rice. If the livestock sector amount to the highest, they will receive for the livestock sector. So I want to make these clear these issues, because people out there are still ignorant of some of the does not know about these issues or these formulas that were used. So I'm saying again that if there is any person on the list that should not be there, let us know and we'll investigate and get their name off the list, and also we'll find out which officers put those names or try to put false information. We'll deal with it.
On Tuesday, September 7, the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation and Agriculture, ICA, Brazil office, handed over more than 11,000 packets of vegetable seeds to the Ministry of Agriculture. This donation is to complement government's ongoing flood relief efforts. Speaking at a simple presentation ceremony, Agriculture Minister Mustafa said the donation is indeed a timely one, as the government is in the midst of flood relief distribution across the country.
These seeds here will go a long way in helping Guyana to rebuild from the devastating flood that we have experienced over the last 3 months from April, May, and June. And I think that, as the CEO of NARI would have said, that we are now rebuilding back our sector, as you have donated a number of seeds here, 17 different types of seeds. Whilst you have been doing that, we from the government level, we have also been rolling out relief packages to farmers across the country so that the farmers can get back to the land as quickly as possible. This donation here this morning will help us to speed up the process so that we can get the farmers, give them planting material too, besides monetary help that we are giving them. But as I said in the last meeting that we have had, that countries in the Caribbean are very vulnerable to climate change, are very vulnerable to disaster, and we have to work together. We have to work together with all countries in the world to work to ensure that we mitigate these disasters. First of all, Guyana is very prone to flooding. We are below the sea level. As a result of that, gravity flow of water is very difficult. So we have to use more pumping to pump water out of the land. And also in Guyana here, we have unseasonal rainfall now that are coming very heavy, where there are a lot of water in the system. And that is why we are working now to mitigate flooding. His Excellency, the President, Dr. Mohamed Irfaan Ali, would have already announced the building of 3 major infrastructure in regions 3, 5, and 6. One that we have, like what we have in region 4, so that we can avoid and reduce flooding.
Speaking virtually at the handing over ceremony was ICA's Director General, Dr. Manuel Otero, who said that in response to the devastation brought on by the flooding, ICA was pleased to donate seeds and other planting materials to help farmers return to the land as soon as possible. He said in the wider picture he looks forward to working with Guyana in the realization of the development potential of agriculture being realized within the region. Last July, ICA's country representative in Guyana, Mr. Wilmot Garnett, said that 6,000 potato slips will be donated to Guyana through support from the Jamaica office, along with 10,000 cassava sticks, all part of its ongoing contributions to Guyana flood relief effort. The variety of seeds distributed by ICA includes pumpkin, tomato, eggplant, green sweet peppers, carrot, pea, green coriander, bunching onion, iceberg lettuce, purple oak-shaped lettuce, round watermelon, round radish, green cabbage, and broadleaf rocket. On Wednesday, the Agriculture Minister witnessed the signing of another $1.3 billion in contracts by several agencies under the umbrella of the Ministry of Agriculture. Contracts were signed for the construction of several drying floors and facilities for rice farmers in regions 4, 5, and 6, the construction and rehabilitation of pump stations, a sluice, and the construction of a processing facility at Fort Wellington. These contracts, when fulfilled, will enhance the operations of services offered by the agencies such as GRDB, NDIA, and the new GMC. During the signing, Minister Mustafa reminded the contractors that they are an integral part of government's effort at agriculture development in Guyana, and that they are being relied upon to ensure that the service they provide is done to specification and completed in a timely manner.
So, I want to say this afternoon that we will ensure that these projects commence immediately. I've already advised our program heads that they should ensure that when these contracts are signed, they immediately prepare mobilization advance and we commence the project. These are very, very critical projects for the delivery of services to the people of our country, especially these pump stations and sluices, because you know for a fact that we would have suffered severely with the last flood, and we need these infrastructure to mitigate flooding in our country. So I hope that the contractor will start immediately, and we will work together to ensure that these projects are completed. Then these drying floors also are very, very important and critical for us, because many times rice farmers are forced to dry their paddy on the road, the public road. We want to change that culture, and we want to ensure that farmers use these facilities that we are building around the country. We know for a fact that a number of those facilities already exist, and the culture is here that people don't want to use these facilities. But we have to ensure that we will be working with them, the farmers, the rice farmers, so that they can use these facilities and avoid conflict with pedestrians on the road and also taxi drivers. So we'll work with them, and then we have the construction of a processing facility at Fort Wellington. As our country moves forward, we are now ensuring that we build these facilities so that we can add value to our farmers' produce. Guyana today is driving the agri-food system, is leading the agri-food system in the Caribbean, and facilities like these are very critical for us as a country. So what we are trying to do is to ensure that we move away from subsistence farming that we used to do all the time, and ensure that we have more value added to our farmers now, more value added produce. And we are working very aggressively. This year alone we'll be constructing almost 7 of those facilities, 7, right? Around the country and different parts of the country. This facility that we have here today have been moved from Region 6 to Region 5 because the first area that we identified was at Tarlogy, but we had to move it from Tarlogy to Fort Wellington because we have a private-public partnership in Blackbush Polders. where an agro-processing facility, a private company is putting down an agro-processing facility in Blackbush Polder. So we thought it wise not to put this one down at, or build this one in Tarlagy, because that one in Blackbush Polder can take care of the produce in those areas. So farmers in Blackbush Polder and on the catchment, those catchment areas can take their produce and you have ready market for these, for their produce in these processing facilities. Also, the one at Fort Wellington that we are building, we will be investing $25 million in that facility. And I think west coast of Berbice, you have a lot of cash crop farmers, a lot of farmers who are producing there. I think that this facility will be placed ideally in that location, capture those farmers. Also farmers on the east bank of Berbice, with the Berbice River Bridge, they will have easy access to this facility at Fort Wellington. So we are working all around to develop the agriculture sector. As I said, that many just 1 year ago, people were only talking about oil and gas. But we are seeing that the agriculture sector is moving forward. We have a lot of investment as a government. We recognize the importance of the agriculture sector. We recognize that food security is important for us, and we cannot neglect this sector. And this is very critical. And over the next 4 years, over the next few years, we will see a lot more of investment. Only today we were sitting down crafting budget for the agriculture sector. And we have some good proposals in the budget to ensure that we have investment in various sectors, open up new lands, build more farm-to-market roads, build more big infrastructure. For example, the President have already pronounced on 3 major infrastructure, like the Hope Size Canal in regions 3, 5, and 6, so that we can mitigate and reduce the chance of flooding. Guyana has experienced one of the most severe flooding in the history of our country, but Region 4 was not affected like the other regions because of that canal at Hope. So if we can build those infrastructure around the country, then we can't avoid the flooding, we can't stop the flooding because Guyana is below sea level, but we can mitigate flooding. And that's what the President and our government is doing. Invest in the sector so that we can create food, we can have food security, we can create employment, create wealth, and also enhance our infrastructure for the farmers in our country.
On Friday last, the Agriculture Minister joined his cabinet colleagues on a major outreach to Region 2, during which the flood relief program was rolled out. Minister Mustafa spearheaded the relief exercise Friday at the St. Monica Community Center, Upper Pomeroon. He told residents there that the government will continue to offer assistance to all Guyanese, assuring those whose names were not on the list of persons to receive checks that a team from the Ministry of Agriculture will be returning to the Pomeroon area within 2 weeks to continue the distribution process. Approximately $110 million in flood relief checks were distributed to some 1,400 farmers and households in the Upper and Lower Pomeroon Friday. Minister Mustafa was accompanied by Government Member of Parliament Dr. Tandika Smith. On Saturday, the Agriculture Minister continued the rollout of government's flood relief drive with distribution exercises at Aurora Estate on the Essequibo Coast, Siriki and Kabakaburi in the Upper Pomeroon. The distribution exercise in Region 2 also allowed for residents to make presentations to the Agriculture Minister and team on what interventions are needed for the further development of their communities, so that these requests can be catered for in the preparation of estimates for the 2022 national budget. African swine fever is a highly contagious disease of domestic and wild pigs that is characterized by high fever, bleeding, and death within 2 to 10 days. African swine fever has been recorded in some countries of Africa, Asia, and Europe, and recently in the Dominican Republic in the Americas. Guyana is free of this devastating disease, but there is a risk for the disease introduction due to global movement of people, animals, and animal products. African swine fever is spread when pigs come into contact with contaminated pork products, feed, syringes, and infected materials, such as pigs and ticks. Pork products can carry the virus, even if they have been cooked or frozen. Humans can carry the virus on their clothing and footwear and may infect pigs that they come into contact with. Before traveling, know the disease status of the country you are visiting. Do not visit pig farms while in African swine fever affected countries. Travelers from affected countries are advised not to bring back food, pork, and pork products. Remember to properly clean, wash, and disinfect your clothing and footwear prior to returning or visiting Guyana. If you are arriving from an ASF-infected country, kindly report same to the quarantine officer on arrival and do not go near pig farms for 7 days. For further information, contact the Guyana Livestock Development Authority on telephone number 220-6556 or 7, fax 220-6557 or email glda1910@gmail.com. Government has committed to assisting coconut farmers across the country in their efforts at expanding their cultivations. This help will come through the clearing of vegetation and digging of internal drainage and irrigation channels. Farmers can also expect help in the form of technical support through NARI and the Hope Estate. Further, coconut seedling nurseries have been established in various regions as part of a decentralization program for nurseries. Coconut seedlings are now available. These are the 5, 3, and 18-month varieties. Farmers are reminded that the recommended number of trees per acre is 50. Persons interested in purchasing seedlings may make contact with Hope Estate on telephone number 663-2709. Once the booking is made, seedlings can be picked up from a nursery nearest you. A message from the management of Hope Estate, Ministry of Agriculture. The Ministry of Agriculture is warning members of the public that it is illegal to dump garbage of any kind near to or into drainage and irrigation waterways across the country. The NDIA, the agency tasked with the maintenance of drainage and irrigation in Guyana, has noted that there is an alarming increase in the incidence of garbage getting into DNI waterways and causing blockages in the first instance. But worse than that, the garbage that includes clothing, rotting carcasses, pieces of wood and metal gets past protective grills of the critical mobile and fixed pumps, resulting in damage to the pumps, which have to be taken out of service for repairs, placing communities at risk, especially during the rainy season. The Ministry of Agriculture notes that when this happens, millions have to be spent on repairs to the pumps and on clearing the canals of debris thrown there by irresponsible citizens. The ministry warns that rangers of the NDIA will be on the lookout for those engaging in this illegal practice. Persons caught will be made to face the full force of the law. A message from the NDIA, Ministry of Agriculture. Well, that's all the time we have on this week's edition of This Week in Agriculture, a presentation of the Communications Unit, Ministry of Agriculture. I'm your producer and host, Christopher Holder. Until next time then, be good to yourselves and to each other.